Good morning. Welcome to Signature Morning on Signature TV. Today is Thursday, the 2nd day of October 2025. Nigeria is 65 and a day old this morning. Lillian.
Hi, Uche.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Are you still feeling the independence mood?
Well, I am. This is just the 2nd day.
Yes, of course. Well, as we are still in the celebratory mood, I mean, we're right back to the grind. We're right back to having the conversations and talking about Nigeria because...
I feel like it's not just about what the president said or what yesterday meant. It actually brings us to ask the question, what's next, beyond the economy, the democracy, and the role of every citizen to making sure that we have a good governance and a good Nigeria.
Exactly, and that is why we're here, to keep those discussions and to bring up those topics even after the celebrations are over. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha.
And I am Lillian Wali. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Back now, it's time for our newspaper headlines and review. Now, we'll begin with the Punch newspaper. On the headlines, Pengasan strike, NNPC laments losses as union halts action.
And Nigeria at 65, Tinubu's reforms yet to ease hardship, says experts.
One doctor attends to 9,083 Nigerians, NARD laments.
We have 853 billion naira crime proceeds recovered in 1 year. This is from EFCC.
And Nigeria's 8th-month debt service bill hits $2.86 billion, says OBN.
Fubara sacks commissioners, others.
Nigerian arrested for attempted trafficking of daughter to Iraq.
All right, now on the Guardian newspaper, we have on the headlines on page 6, Nigeria at 65, leaders call for reforms on poverty, insecurity, faltering democracy.
Tinubu, Ododo mourn as victims of Kogi boat mishap rise to 26.
And on the news page 3, Dangote's rift with Pengasan unfortunate, says man.
And also on the news page 3, pro-plot to fleece Osun local government of 12.75 billion naira, PDP tells IGP EFCC.
Now looking at the Vanguard newspaper, we have still on Nigeria at 65. Opposition leaders, others take Tinubu to task. Tinubu unmoved, uncaring amid hunger, bandit attacks, says Atiku. Nigeria falling under APC, Obi. If the worst is over, why are Nigerians still dying, ADC? We're hungry for food, not statistics, says Khan. Nigeria's future bleak under leaders with entitlement mentality, says the Anglican primate.
2027, Amechi Obi Utomi Ezekwesili push to end courtroom democracy. That's on page 8.
On page 7, we have death of Arise TV anchor Somto Chukwu jumped from 3rd floor. This is from the FCT police boss.
And on page 20, stock market investors earn 1.8 trillion naira in September amid CBN's reforms.
And we have Obi, Lagos government differ over trade fair complex demolition.
Tinubu not jittery about opposition, says presidency.
Iyaloja General is alien to us, says the Oba of Benin.
U.S. shut down visa passport services to continue in Nigeria, says embassy. And on the Nation's newspaper, governors renew pledge to speed up development in states.
Pengasan fears collapse of deal with Dangote refinery.
Kale projects inflation's drop to 14%. Reforms need sustenance.
Anyang avoids Damagum suspension of Akwa Ibom PDP exco.
Soyinka, why I accepted renaming of National Arts Theatre after me.
On page 3 of the Nation, Fubara sacks exco ready to submit commissioner nominees list to assembly.
And on page 27, 26 die in Kogi boat accident.
And still on page 27, how a Rice TV reporter died by neighbors. And that is all we have on the headlines this morning. Now it's time for our review. Chris Maduka, good morning. Thank you for joining us once again.
Good morning, Luce.
Good morning.
Good morning, Lillian. Good morning, the world, for joining us this morning. We thank God the Almighty for His mercies. Uche and Lillian, congratulations. Yesterday was grinding. I heard you using the word grind. It was worth it for us to celebrate 65 years of Nigeria, whether good or bad.
Yeah.
You guys did wonderful work. I'm proud of you.
Thank
So
you.
welcome this morning, and let's start from the punchy punch.
The punchy punch.
Yeah, NNPC laments losses of union halts action. I am surprised that the NNPC is lamenting. You know, I keep using that allusion that the chicken will always leave the knife that killed it and go to the mother's pot of soup to bend neck. So what is the NNPC losing when Pegasus is on strike? Lifting the fuel from the refineries that are working or the one that's not working? Or I don't just understand. Because NNPC and their refineries are a failed project. And instead of allowing Pengasin to review and reflect on looking for new businesses, they're going to hang on Dangote. And another headline says the Pengasin is fearing collapse of the deal with Dangote. From all indication what we have read, unless there's something deeper, from all we have heard, read, and heard them talk, their deal with Pengasin will never work. Because if Pengasin allows himself to be dragged into that deal, then Pengasin has shot itself on the legs. So NNPC can go ahead and lament. They've been lamenting for the last 30 years with moribund refineries and inactivity. The only importer and exporter are managing and damaging directors of imported fuel, and that's what they manage. And they're dealing with marketers who they control. So it must be somebody who has not been functioning for 30 years. Whatever Dangote is doing might be strange to them, and that's why, as dog, they're backing at everything they don't understand. They should go sit down to understand what Dangote is doing and study it and replicate it. It's only good things that my father told me that you replicate. So all these strike, war, they should go to where they bath and look for their clothes. But listen and listen very well, and I know, until they come out to explain to us, what is this striking all about? Is it not so that they will be comfortable at their positions while we suffer, buying refined petroleum products at expensive price? That's all. That's all. Otherwise, every condition they are giving, even to the functional refinery owned by an individual, is still adding up to our pains. And they think we support them. I, for one, even though because I have packed using my Tokumbo car for the last 2 years, or 1.5 years, we never support anything that will make me pack it longer at all. Also, they let them lament losses because they have been losers. So losers will always lament losses. But what happens is that we're expecting that they should have taken concrete action to stop further losses. Because from all things they plan and do, they're going to see more losses in the near future. We don't see any plan they are talking about consolidating and moving forward. So we move on. Yeah.
All right. So another headline on the Punchy Punch says Fubara sacks commissioners and others.
When we're talking about Fubara, we have spoken about Fubara week River State for too long. And people begin to misconstrue the fact. But if you think, say, we are talking too much, it's because you are doing too much. So we don't talk for nothing. But when we say, and I sat here and say, always be very careful with a man who doesn't talk much. People do not know what I'm talking about. Fubara is still the governor. Whether he is a governor held at gunpoint, I'm sure, whatever condition you have signed for him, they are looking for Whatever has made him to bow and humiliated to this point is just the heart of River State. It is not what makes Fubara governor and the exercise of his power. It is the heart of River State that is being looked at. And they have collected the heart of River State. So Fubara can sack commissioners there, they can sacrifice anybody, nobody cares. The allusion I gave about two monkeys that saw banana, couldn't share, and chimpanzee came to share for them, has been brought to bear. And we can see it working out. So as far as the chimpanzee has gone and eaten all the two bananas, whatever is left for the monkeys is to sit down there and still jump around as monkeys. Because you cannot stop monkey from jumping. Just like you cannot stop Fubara from deciding which commissioner to work for him and not. Because if whatever agreement they reach with him got to that point, it will be killer. So they will allow him certain powers to still exercise as governor, and that's what he has done, started it. But be that as it may, Fubara is still the governor of River State, whether he's weakened or humiliated or not. So he will still show that he's governor. But I only advise him that as a man who has been stung by a bee should be careful with when he sees Urukijiji, because you never know what will come up next. Don't take anything for granted. And I think this is part of why he thinks he cannot go to plant seed with squirrels in his back. You can only sack who you appointed. You know when they were making noise about Fubara House of Assembly probing, nobody can probe the sole administrator they did not appoint. And what constitutional right are you going to use to probe him? And for instance, you cannot stoop on another man's sheet. So whoever appointed the boss should do that. Now that the governor is back, he wants to appoint his own commissioner. And these are all politics. But the list of the commissioners would have been submitted and defined. It's just for him to announce it. But he has to show the world that at least he's still the governor of Rivers State.
Right.
We're still seeing Nigeria at 65 on The Guardian. Leaders call for reforms on poverty, insecurity, faltering democracy. And on The Vanguard, we're still seeing opposition leaders, others tackling Tinubu,
Where are the leaders? Who are they calling for reform? We are the led that are calling the leaders to reform poverty, insecurity, faltering democracy, because they have the power. You can see their deception. Somebody, imagine when you get home and you're hungry, you go and tell Papa, I'm hungry, and Mama, I'm hungry. They say, we're expecting you to tell us how we're going to feed today. You are coming complaining I'm hungry. You will get confused. So if the leaders of Nigeria are calling for reform and poverty, who are they calling? Did the newspaper headline say they called themselves to order? Self-advice would have been, if they say Nigerian leaders have called themselves to order to reform poverty, insecurity, and faltering democracy. Why should we be reviewing? I'm sorry, because at times they will think I'm too hard. But this doesn't make sense. Leaders, they've been calling for it since 65 years ago. Are they running for the raging bull to hit who? They are the leaders. They are the ones who reform. And they are calling for it. We get confused. Instead of acting on reform and faltering democracy and acting on insecurity, they are still calling for it. Until Nigeria finish, they will remain calling. Because when they are cocooned in Abuja as Nigerian leaders, they can say anything. They can call so that they will mean they are saying something. But one of the greatest damage Nigerian leaders have done to us is that they are not creative with whatever they make statements. Because even if they are telling Nigerians lie, they should also be creative with it. I keep giving an example. It's in this country that Nigerian leaders came up and told us that the helicopter that will convene a former vice president of Nigeria crashed because the former government did not service it for 16 years. And nobody talked. This kind of statement you hear in Nigeria. Hey, wake up! Somebody described it. Nigerian leaders wake up after bouts of things they do, whatever they indulge in. Some will indulge in high, expensive drinks and all. We wake up in the morning, open their mouth and speak without thinking. Because if they think, they'll give Nigeria an assignment. Before we break down their creative lies, we will think they are doing something. But they come and tell you blatant lies. Nigerian leaders call for reforms. Uche, they are calling for reforms. Let's wait on security and furthering democracy. They will continue to read. Insecurity is getting worse. The Nigerian leaders are still calling. Our democracy is no more faltering, it's being damaged. Nigerian leaders are calling. Poverty has ravaged us and we are dying of hardship hunger. Nigerian leaders are calling. Are they asking us to ask who? That's deception of the highest order. Let them not call for anything. Let them just keep quiet and enjoy their money in Abuja. We are watching. 2027 is on the track. There are so many things, many times you can, they will still deceive on Nigeria, but it's getting to a point. Have you heard INEC calling for people to go? Those one, the quoting numbers. It's like when they tell you that Nigerian inflation rate has dropped by 45%. You still go to market. The same thing. What you bought, one mudu of you bought 5,000 or 12,000, still remain the same. And then MBS will tell you the same. That's the same thing that's happening in Nigeria. They make statements that do not have direct bearing, and you don't see empirical evidence. There are changes in the life of Nigerians. So you wonder who the leaders are calling for this. I'm miffed. Let's move on. That's Nigeria 65, the kind of things we see. 65 years of calling for reform, faltering democracy and all. When Nigeria finish, they will stop calling. Now let's move on.
All right. On the Vanguard, we're also seeing 2027, Amechi Obi Utomi Ezekwesili push to end courtroom democracy.
Well, the people who are in, when the people, you remember we spoke here, I watched a Signature TV interview with Chido Dinkawu. He said we do not have electorate again. What they have is electorates. 240 million Nigerians, the percentage that managed due to election, what they call it, voters apathy. Imagine a country that we are boasting about 240 million. Out of that 240 million, at least 50% of them are votable citizens. So imagine what if we break it by half. But this election, where we go, we'll be counting about in 10 million voters. And the damaged vote, and there will still a leader will emerge, they will lead the country of 240 million. You still asking. At the end of it all, even with that, they will go to court. Because they will model up everything and they tell you go to court. Because they already know why they go to court, the same court they control will still make it. So what we have now is not electorate, it's selectorate. Where few judges, Nigerian courts, after the people have taken their decision, the few that managed to go to vote will go, and then the politicians who are corrupt to the bones will model the situation and go to court and still bribe the court to their favor. And the one individual, about 5 people, will sit on what they call electoral, whatever they call that panel. 5 judges will sit down. Probably at the end they will have minority opinion about when there are 5. 1 will say, I am not going with the majority. You might have the 4 with that decision that the governor who has gone to court is the winner of a state of 5 million people. 4 after millions have voted. Nigeria clearly are driving to destruction. When they, when they will be Ezekwesili and all the few of them that still have the head on their shoulders are calling for it. They are saying the obvious. If we do not stop court, electoral process in Nigeria, Nigeria will destroy itself soon. What will happen? Why they will still vote 390 billion or 319 billion for election of 2023. What happened? All of them, some of the are still in court. They will dilly-dally everybody. Will come in and feed the lawyers and judges and then until they even know where. And somebody is going to court, is sitting in a government house for 3 years. At the end of it all, they say he will celebrate that he has won his case. And So who was it? If somebody is challenging you, call, and somebody, about 3 people will say he has won, when majority who voted for him are constant. Nigeria drive, you can't hear what can Nigerian kind of democracy is not practiced anywhere in the world. So when Obi and they are calling for obvious, and we know it's just they are looking for, these are few people who are still calling. If Obi's ones will fall inside and Amechi, they will say they are politicians, they are looking for something. But Obi can be out of it. Amechi has been in the system. When he was governor, why didn't he call for this? When Ezekwesili was minister, why didn't they were pushing in their executive council that they should do this? So some of the politicians and people in Nigeria call for beautiful ideas and reform very late. When they had opportunity, probably something tied their hands and their mouth. But
yes,
they say, I'm not so, I say, I don't lost all hope. If they are concrete, my confusion is that they will be speaking good things. You will think you are talking with people, things are getting worse. So why keep talking and not doing? That's my concern.
All right, let's look at this headline. It's something that we have to talk about. This death of Arise TV anchor who jumped from the 3rd floor. The FCT police boss spoke about it as well.
It's painful. It's a loss to the constituency, a sector I belong in Nigeria. The young woman works. Incidentally, we can't say it was targeted. The criminals came to her apartment, and because of panic, that she wants to jump through because, like I said, when you have been stung by a bee, if you see a Burukijiji, you start running helter-skelter. And that's what really happened. It's about panic. And the panic kills more than the main event. That's it. Probably, I don't know how she got the panic, but it can be after you have passed through Nigerian hearing. She is in the media, and she sees visual videos, hearing stories every day of attacks of armed robbers and criminal elements on people, and you have gotten home thinking you are home, and immediately you hear alarm that they are criminals. She will want to escape to safety. Incidentally, she ended this way. Well, the FCT security forces to have gone investigation. Even the neighbors testified that that's what happened. Well, what can we say? She was trying to spy herself to safety. Eventually ended in a bad way. May God accept her soul.
Amen.
And let the angels of heaven sing her to sleep. She's just a young, beautiful girl who is wanting to make a career in journalism. This is how we lost it. And this is how we have lost a lot of budding talent and people who will hold up the nation. There are more, many more. Because she's in the sector that can talk about her death. There are so many people who have been killed. So many people have been stampeded to death because of this security situation in Nigeria. So when you hear that and the world hears that criminals have buried the flats where this young woman was living, probably she's living alone. So you can imagine. She also has imagined in her head what will happen to her if this criminal element got to her and want to take desperate move to save herself. And she ended this way. That will tell you. Tomorrow, people will say there's no insecurity in Nigeria. What we talk about this every day, we report killings and people are dying through insecurity and criminal activities in Nigeria. So who can we stop talking about that? There's nobody that reported it. Because somebody, if another politician who is in the opposition talk about it, he say, hey, it's the opposition. If you say anything that's happening in Nigeria, if you are not in the opposition, you will be paid. But they will pay themselves to death, that we say. But then, people who are speaking from both sides of their mouth know what the benefits. Because my father told me, when things are not going normal, only the wicked and criminal elements benefit. Nigeria, they don't want it to work because it's benefiting few criminal elements. They want Nigeria to be ruled. So there are certain things you can't do in Nigeria to survive. So some of you that are decent. But then the criminal elements who can do anything want it that way. And they boast and booger about it. Nigeria is still on the track that is not good. At 65.
It's quite sad, really.
It is. Yes. So we are mourning the young woman. Let her rest in peace.
Well, another issue here: 26 die in Kogi boat accident.
When I hear of Kogi boat accident again, we said deaths by boat mishap, too many within a short time. But then when I started reading the details, I find that some of the things that happen on the road, imagine if you're on the road and you enter a vehicle that's overloaded with goods and the human beings, probably you're moving on the road, you have flat tire, or the vehicle somersault and something, or something happens, or the weight breaks the chassis of the car, the thing collapses on the road. There may be some people coming out of safety. There are some means of transportation that Nigerians should not take anything for, because I noticed that this particular boat was overloaded with goods, and there were humans also parked there. And then, who regulates the Nigerian waterways? Who regulates how these boats, how many capacity that we're supposed to, if it's a boat that's supposed to carry probably 20 people, and you load 100 with bags of rice, because these food producing areas, probably it is coming to Lokoja to deliver food stuff. This happens and people die. And in those portions where this thing happened, probably before the alarm is raised and people to get to that portion of River Niger to save people, we have high level of fatality. That's what's happened. We have had, in Sokoto and Borno, it was back to back, both mishap, people died, and now Kogi has gotten them. Let it not be what we are thinking. But we have Nigerian inland waterways. We have also Ministry of Transport. We have people who should tell us who regulates. We have, if it's on the road, if you are loading in a park, you have Nigerian Union of Road Transport Workers, or you have Nupeng if you are loading fuel. You have Pengasin if you are working in a refinery. They have unions like that. Which union controls both travels and the Nigerian waterway travels in Nigeria? It calls for action. Because if we are talking about the next day, you have another report and it will fade. People will mourn for 2 minutes. In Nigeria now, people don't mourn anybody for more than 1 minute. It's like, may so rest in perfection. Even when they say, let's give the dead a minute silence, some people will not have enough, that patience to give a dead man in Nigeria. So, life of people in Nigeria has become useless. These are another number of people that have wasted. And probably those Nigerian leaders who are comfortable in Abuja, traveling with escorts, flying everywhere, lunch in London, breakfast in Paris, and they come back to Abuja to sit in the assembly with allowances paid. They can never be in this kind of situation. So when you are talking, it's another person's corpse that's being carried. It will always sound like news, like log of wood. These are farmers. These are people who are dependent, the wretched of the earth. Imagine what it's doing. And Nigeria will losing the wretched of the earth, people who are even trying to produce this food. When the thing accumulates, we still find Ewa and Abadu to buy. Yeah. But when they keep dying, if it's not by insecurity, it's by mishaps, it's by flooding, it's by nobody. The people in Abuja are not counting it as anything. They will just know, oh, sorry, and they pass on. How many times have you had anybody moving in National Assembly, in the Senate and Federal House of Reps on issues like this? Let there be regulation. If you buy boat, let nobody load more than the capacity. Even if it's local canoe that they load and they put engine on it, there must be a body that is satisfying how it moves and the way. Some kind of regulation. Even if those regulatory bodies eventually become corrupt, subsumed, but at least when issues come up, they say there is a regulatory body. But in Nigeria now, so many boat mishap, but we have never had that the regulatory body of how transport is done in Nigerian inland waterway. I don't know what statute that established them. But when you say you are traveling by boat, you cannot escape the regulation of Nigerian inland waterways. And they will even tell you the areas that have been dislocated. Some people, they say they have made some parts in River Niger where the boats with such weight can pass. Because if you are traveling and then suddenly the panel, the roller that moves the boat goes stuck in sand, the thing will somersault and people will die. So,
Chris,
I know once you start doing your mouth like this, I know. So no problem. It's okay. I'm happy for the much we have done today. So, as you have watched us today, happy independent Nigeria. Uche and Lilia were saying they are coming out of the euphoria of independence, and they still say today we continue with the drops. Happy Independent Nigeria, and for the lovers of Nigeria across the world. And for all of you that have joined us on Signet TV this morning, we say, may God bless you. May God bless my little angels. Bless all of you who have watched across the world, and Nigerians particularly. But remember that God's blessings are for those
who deserve to be blessed. We are learning your payoff line.
Of course. All right, Chris Maduka, we are always delighted to have you in the studio. And we have come to the end of our newspaper headlines and reviews. Stay with us. We'll bring you update from our Abia correspondent concerning the celebration of Nigeria at 65. Stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.